If you got back pain, hip pain, or both, I want to reframe how it all started. Because here's what most people get wrong. Your core gave out long before your back and hip pain arrived. And by the time you felt the pain, your core had been offline for months, maybe even years. The pain is the last thing to show up, but it's the first thing you noticed, and that's the problem. Because you've been chasing the last thing, when the first thing is what actually started the whole chain. So before you do one more plank, one more stretch, let me show you the order things shut down actually. Because once you see the order, you'll never look back at your back pain the same way again. So now when your back hurts, everyone gives you the same advice, right? You strengthen your core, so you do planks, dead bugs, leg raises, ab work, and the back still hurts. Maybe it even feels worse. And here's why that advice keeps failing you. The problem was never that your core was weak, it was that your core went offline. And there's a big difference, probably the most important distinction in this entire video. A weak muscle can be trained. You load it, it gets stronger. Simple. An offline muscle won't respond to your nervous system because it's not using it. No matter how hard you work it, your nervous system won't be utilizing it. The muscle is fine, the signal is the problem. So all that ab work, you were turning on a light when the circuit breaker was tripped. The switch works, the wiring is fine, the bulb is fine, but nothing happens because the signal never gets through. And here's what's wild about it. You can't see offline on an MRI scan. You can't see it in a strength test because other muscles will happily compensate and fake the movement for you. So you get told your core is weak to do more planks, and you keep flipping a switch with the breaker that is off. So why does the core go offline before the pain ever shows up? Because the body shuts down in order. It never shuts down randomly, and let me walk you through it. Because once you see the sequence, everything else starts to make sense. Step number one is the diaphragm locks. Your diaphragm is the muscle at the base of your rib cage that drives your breath. But it is a lot more than breath. It is the top of your core, your deep core, your transverse abdominis, the muscle that wraps your midsection like a corset, hangs off the diaphragm. They work as one unit. When your nervous system detects a threat from surgery, chronic stress, an old injury, or just poor sleep, it goes into protection mode. Your breath goes shallow, your diaphragm starts moving through its full range of motion. That's the first thing that shuts down. And most of you will never notice it because you can still breathe shallow all day and you'll be able to survive just fine. Now, step number two, the core goes offline next. Now here's the key. When the diaphragm locks, the core loses its signal. Now remember, the transverse abdominis hangs off the breath. If the diaphragm isn't moving, the core doesn't get the message to turn back on. So the core goes offline. It's not weak, it's offline. And because it's offline, your trunk loses its primary stabilizer. And step number three, your body still has to stand, right? So your body is brilliant at surviving on its own. It's not going to let you fall over. So when the core checks out, the nervous system recruits other muscles to hold you up, specifically your psoas and your QL. Your psoas is the deep hip flexor that runs from your lumbar spine to your femur. And your QL, quadratus lumborum, is the muscle in your low back that connects the pelvis to your rib cage, as we can see here. These two were designed to move you, not to hold you. But now they're doing the core's job and their own job. So they're doing two jobs at once, every day for months, even years. Now step number four, this is where the pain shows up. The psoas and the QL get chronically overworked, tight, and irritated. That's your low back pain. That's your hip pain. The pain is the last link in a chain that started way up in your diaphragm. And here's the thing that should reframe everything for you. The shutdown happened in order, like I always say, but the restart needs to happen in reverse. And the entry point is almost never where the pain is. The entry point is the breath. It's the core, because the core gave out first. Now, let's talk about why what you've been doing hasn't worked, because this is the part most videos skip. Say you stretch your hip, you feel relief for a day, maybe two. Then the pain snaps back, right? Why? Because stretching the hip is turning off the fire alarm while the fire keeps burning. The alarm is your low back, the fire is in the diaphragm over here. The core You never touch the fire. Same thing with the QL. You foam roll it, you stretch it, you get adjusted, and it comes right back within a day or two. Because the QL isn't the problem, the QL is the victim. It's been overworked because the core bailed out. It's like using a rope to hold up a bridge. Eventually the rope is going to fray and snap, and no amount of rubbing the rope fixes the bridge. And the strengthening, you do planks, you brace, you crunch, and nothing changes because you're training a muscle that's offline. You're loading a system that's already checked out. This is the hamster wheel. Stretch, strengthen, temporary relief, snap right back, and repeat. You don't strengthen your way out of this, you need to signal your way out of this. Now, the test. So let's talk about how to tell if this is actually your body. I'm going to give you 2 quick checks you can do right now. So test number 1 is a breathing test. Put one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. Take a normal breath in. Does your belly rise and fall, or does your chest do all the work? If your chest is doing the moving and your belly stays still, your diaphragm is locked. And that's the first step of the shutdown cascade, and it's already in place. Test number 2 is the single leg stand. Stand on one leg. Does your hip drop on the other side? Does your trunk lean or wobble to stay up? If it does, your core is offline and your psoas and QL are gripping to hold you, which means they're already doing 2 jobs. If either of those sound like you and your back and hips keep hurting no matter how much you stretch or strengthen, that's the sign. The core gave out first and everything around it has been compensating ever since. So what we're going to do is turn the core back on in order. The same order it shut down, just reversed. First, the breath. We teach the diaphragm to move through its full range. This isn't deep breathing to relax, this is restoring the signal. The breath is what turns the core back on. Second, we're going to focus on the deep stabilizers. Once the breath is back online, we wake up the TVA, the transverse abdominis, and the core, not with crunches, with positioning and pressure cues that tell the nervous system it's safe. You can turn this back on. Third, the release. When the core comes back online, the psoas and the QL finally get to let go. They stop doing 2 jobs, and the back and hips release, not because you stretch them, but because they don't have to compensate anymore. It's not a flexibility problem, it's a nervous system regulation problem. You restart the signal, and the tension lets go on its own. Now here's the thing. I could teach you the concepts all day, but your body's shutdown order is specific to you. Where you're started and what's still compensating is something I can only see by mapping it. So if this sounds like your body, if your back and hips have been fighting you and nothing has stuck in terms of treatment or mobility, the entry point is almost never where the pain is, right? And I can show you exactly where you're started. Send me a DM on Instagram with the word restore, or click the link below in the description to book a one-on-one call. We'll run through everything that you're going through, identify what could be causing the issue, and I map out exactly how to restart the sequence for you. Let's fix your pain and find your purpose. I'm going to see you in the next one.